You are a dance studio owner and you want your teachers, your employees to work as good as you do so that you can finally relax and put your attention in the things you really want to put attention. And instead, you find yourself that you have to keep an eye on all your teachers. You have to make sure they do things right. You don't trust them 100%. They have some limitations. They are not as good as you are. And that's why you hired them to scale your business, and yet it doesn't seem like you can really enjoy the benefits because you still have to stay behind them so much. Now, it's great that you stay behind them, that you help them. However, the very reason why you started hiring is because you want these people to take care of your community, take care of your students, make sure they upgrade, make sure they spend money, make sure they're happy without you having to be behind them every single time. If you can relate with this problem, stay here in this show because I'm going to walk you through the 4 criteria that you will be able to communicate to your teachers in a way that they will start acting almost as good as you, and they will start generating income for the studio without you having to be so much behind them all the time. This is the problem we're going to address today. What is the outcome that instead, as a studio owner, you want to have? You want to make sure that you don't have to stay behind the students and behind the teachers all the time. You have the peace of mind that they're going to do a good job because they're going to behave the way you want them to behave, so that when a problem shows up, they can fix it right away. And sometimes they can even behave that they can prevent problems from showing up. You don't have to hard sell anymore anything because your students, your teachers, your employees behave in a way that the students naturally wants more. Those are the outcomes we try to define in this call. Okay, so if you can relate to the problems that we spoke about it, and you can relate with the outcomes that we would like to get here today, I'm going to give you the 4 pieces of contents that are exactly what you need and what your teachers need to make sure you go from the problem to the outcome that we speak about. And the 4 points are the following. We are going to have, first of all, we are going to talk about the bridge. So the bridge is the ability to see the process that your student does from point A to point B, and knowing all the steps that needs to be done to get there, so that then your teacher is able to not only teach the technique, not only teach the skills, but actually teach the journey that the client will do. Because when the client is able to see that journey, she or he wants to stick to it. It's more natural to want to finish that journey rather than having those single individual lessons all the time, that every single time is a question mark if they're going to come or not. So again, number 1, the bridge. Number 2, we are going to talk about the care formula. Now, in nowadays world, we really need to make sure that we care for people. We just want to show good care. And if people feel like they're taken care of, they stick to this person because it's not easy to find someone that cares for you. Generally. Now, I'm going to teach you a formula that very simply is going to show you what you have to say, what you have to do to make sure that you always keep very high the care perception into the eyes of your student. And you yourself, as a studio owner, and your teachers will actually be caring more, which is fun because it means that you create more connection and more trust. Number 3, I'm going to teach you the little best recommendation secret. This is something very important to me. Looking forward to getting to that detail. I'll go that once in order as we go through this episode. And number 4, the encouragement, a positive encouragement formula. So it's just a communication technique to properly use encouragement to lead and inspire more action. So the student is willing to do more stuff, sign up again, go to the next competition, go to the next showcase, or whatever you are, whatever is in their plan, whatever it is that you want them to do. So here is what we're going to talk about. So let's get comfortable and let's start. I'm going to break down these points one by one. Let's go. So, first, we said the bridge. Now, very importantly, when we have a client, that client is coming to you for experiencing a certain transformation. Even though they say to you that the students might come just because it's fun to dance, that's not the real reason why they want to do it. The real reason is a transformation that they want to have. And it's your job as a studio owner, I would say, to understand what type of transformation this person wants to do, or what type of transformation you want this person to have. Let's make an example. Let's say that you have a person that is coming to you and she's like a social level dancer, and you want to transform her into a competitive dancer. I hope that that sounds like something that could happen to you, so that instead of just coming for lessons, she eventually does competition, showcase, and stuff like that, right? So try to understand, this person comes into the studio. She's a social dancer. She knows nothing about dancing, okay? You want to bring this person to be competitive and do her first close bronze competition. Let's make an example, right? So we have the student in point A and we have the student in point B. Now, the question is, what has to happen? What are the micro steps that has to happen for your student to go from point A to point B? If we take this exact example, probably what will have to happen first is that you'll have to give the patterns, the routines to this person, right? You start with one dance, you give one routine, and you make sure that she knows the steps and she can kind of follow you, right? Then you put some technical elements. So if you're doing, let's say, waltz, you are going to probably teach some technical stuff like the footwork or like the rise and fall, stuff like that. Then what's the next thing that she needs? She needs to understand her posture and her balance. That's probably what went before that. But anyway, the posture and the balance, so to stay in a certain way. Then she'll need to understand some other body action, maybe, right? And then she will need to be able to do this routine with you for a minute straight without mistakes. And then she will need to be able to do all three dances. Usually in bronze, there are three dances, 1 minute each, without mistake all around. And at that point, we could say, now this person is ready to compete. So what do you want to do? You want to break down this sequence in a very logical way. Every step is consequential to the next step. And when you teach your student, you don't only teach the skills. You actually have to teach to the student this journey. Like you have to explain to this person that that's the journey that she is into, so that she can see a little bit the road ahead. And as she gets those steps, she feels successful because she's getting a little bit step ahead. And it's more quantifiable in her mind what the process is. And also it gives your teachers, your employees in the studio, the ability to, instead of randomly teach whatever they feel they need today, which is what most of the teachers do, unfortunately, they now follow a curriculum. They follow a process that is meant to bring that student to a certain condition where she is now ready to compete. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I use the example of competing, but that applies to, let's take another example, of wedding dance, right? So you get the couple, they come to the studio, they never have a step of dancing in their lives, and they get out that they are ready to perform at their wedding. So what are the things that needs to happen for this condition of them being ready to be realized? They will need to pick the music. We will need to decide the style. We will need to create actually the music and edit. We will now need to make the basic routine. We will now need to make sure that they memorize and they can practice and dancing all together. We will now have to make sure that it works well also with costumes, wedding dress and stuff like that. We will now have to make sure that it works good in the location of the venue, right? And then we'll have to practice. Now they're ready. So you see, very quickly we have defined a journey that is very consequential. And when you get the wedding couple into your place and you sell just the lesson, or your teachers are only teaching just the lesson, just the skills, it might sound overwhelming. It might sound, where are we going? The student just don't know. That's the thing. We assume that they know, but they don't know. So every teacher must be able to teach the journey before and during and while teaching the skills. One of the biggest reasons why teachers don't retain students, the teachers that you hire don't retain students, is because they don't teach the map. They only teach the skills. So they need instead to teach the map mainly, and then to teach the skills that help this person to move up into this map. Does that make sense? I hope it does. That's what the bridge is. Make sure it's built. Make sure your teachers understand this bridge, and make sure your teachers, your employees, will actually go and teach the bridge, and only after the skills for the bridge to be fulfilled. Okay? Now let's go to point number 2, the care formula. Now, I call it care formula because you cannot pretend to care. You have to truly care. But sometimes, even if you truly care, the student doesn't perceive that care. Now, you as a studio owner, you probably already know how to do it. You develop it, you maybe studied about it, or you have a good instinct about it, but your teachers, your employees, they might not. And their way of expressing their care is that they try to give them the better information possible. They try to give them the best dancing possible. But the reality is that when this way of showing care doesn't get perceived as care, it actually gets perceived almost as opposite. Like the student perceives this teacher as this teacher is being selfish and all about himself or all about herself. So how do we reframe this in a way that you can actually have the care formula in action? So how's this care formula work? Very, very simply. When your teacher speaks to the student here and there, they throw some sort of objection. Here and there, they share something they are uncomfortable with. Here and there, they share something that is not working with the dance and something that they feel not confident about it, or they feel concerned about it. So the student will always throw this kind of objection towards their teachers. Now, the teachers, what do they try to do? They try right away to just fix this problem. And that's a problem because, again, it doesn't get perceived as care. What it does perceive as care is that you have the teacher has very first thing, always acknowledge first. So when a student shows any kind of concern, any kind of objection, any kind of trouble, the very first thing the teacher should do is to acknowledge and say something like, I hear you. I understand it. Got it. Maybe he can also say something like, I was there myself too, if it is the case. I felt like this too. So first of all, acknowledge and get to empathize with the problem of that person. After the acknowledgement is done, now the teacher has the job to ask questions to clarify that state, that current state. What do I mean? Let's make an example that the student is saying, oh, I don't feel ready for the competition, which is an objection that happens a lot, right? Now the teacher would say, oh yeah, you're ready. Don't say that, you're ready. Of course you're ready. Why you say that? That's not good. The first thing the teacher should say, I get it, I understand. I'm sorry that you don't feel ready. Actually, myself too. I still nowadays that I compete professional, when I go to competition, I don't really feel ready. So I get it. So first of all, acknowledgement, not fight. Second, you ask the question to define that state better. So you say, just so I understand better, what it is that makes you say that you don't that you are not ready? And this person will say something, will say, oh, because, I always forget to do this heel turn. Say, okay, I understand. So how does that make you feel? Like, is that because you do the heel turn, like you feel, because you don't do the heel turn, you feel that judges will notice, and that, you think that this will be bad? Why that? Okay. So they would say something like, oh, because when I do my heel turn, I forget to do it. Okay, I understand. Okay, so, and you forgetting do it, do you feel like the judges will notice or something like that? They say yes, they'll notice, and then they will not mark me. Okay, I understand. So you see what we have done. We have listened, and we have asked questions that normally we give for granted, but in reality they are not so obvious, and we want to ask anyway because we want to know the client's point of view. Okay, not to assume my point of view, the client's point of view. So we make some questions to define better the current state. Then you will go on and you will ask question on what the desired state is. And you'll say, okay, I understand that you feel this uncomfortability with the heel turn. So what it is that you would like instead? Like, would you like to feel like you always remember it all the time, that you know exactly what it is, and that, that basically you know that you have to do them when you have to do it? Yeah, that's what I want. And she will say, I want that I remember it all the time. Okay, cool. And if you remember it all the time, how would you feel? I would feel that now I got it. Finally, I get it, And if you feel like that, do you feel more confident because then you feel the judge will mark you better because you're doing the heel turn? And then she'll say, yeah, because if I do them, then I'm comfortable. Now I can go confidently. Oh, okay, I understand. So if we manage to do this, you will feel comfortable, right? And confident. Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Now that you defined the desired outcome, you now go and offer your solution, and you say, okay, I hear what you're saying. I hear you're struggling. You don't remember your heel turns. And I hear you would like to actually get these heel turns all the time. So why don't we work on the routine in a way that you will always know before the heel turn comes, you will know that you have to do the heel turn. And let's practice until you've done it. Now you have motivated that person you probably would have taught that anyway. But because most of the time we don't do this journey of asking the questions about the current state and asking the question about the desired outcome, now you offering your solution doesn't sound powerful enough. It sounds like boring. It sounds like, why am I supposed to do it? And instead, you had a conversation where you acknowledge first. Second, you ask a question about the current state, which is their pain, okay? Then you ask a question about their desired outcome, which is what they really would like to have as an outcome. Now that there is the pain and the outcome, you go offer your solution in the middle as the vehicle to go from the pain to the outcome. Now, what has this conversation created? Care. Simply created care. Because now the student feels like, oh my gosh, my teacher is giving me the thing that I need for the problem that I feel to reach the outcome that I feel. So you see, now you are giving your solution in relation to their issues, their desires. That's how you become good at caring for people. That's the care formula. Hope that makes sense. And by the way, if at any moment during this conversation you feel like, oh my gosh, this is cool, I would like my teachers to know this, I would be very happy to organize a one-on-one call with you, studio owner. You can actually book it here. There will be a link below. I call this the Dancepreneur Breakthrough Call. But what basically is that we're going to talk, me and you, about your studio situation. And I'm going to help you, if you'll want my help, of course, to get your teachers to understand these points and to start applying. And I'm telling you, the moment they start applying just these two things that I taught you right now, that I taught, the bridge and the care formula, they will already keep students so much easier, so much better, and you will start making your income on them without have to be with your hands on them all the time. So again, if that sounds like something you would like to explore, it's totally free. Book your call, Dancepreneur Breakthrough Call. You'll find the link in the very top of the description of this video, and I hope to see you on the other side soon so we can work on your system and on your studio. Let's move to point number 3. Now, point number 3 is what I introduced a little bit in the beginning of this call, which is always give the best recommendation. Best recommendation. What does it mean? Sometimes the teachers, the people you employ, sometimes they feel not so confident in selling. You understand that, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people have no confidence in selling because the reason why they don't feel confident is because they are afraid to be told no. That's actually the real thing. They are afraid to receive a no as an answer because they think that whether they say yes or no, if the client say yes or no is a yes or no to themselves as a person. They take it personally, but that should not happen. Now, if they take it personally, what's going to happen? That your teacher is going to start to recommend not the most cool thing, not the most expensive thing. They're going to start recommending lower level things just to have a higher chance to receive a yes. Let me give an example. Let's say that your teacher is trying to make the student get a good dress for the competition, right? The best recommendation would be to get a custom-made dress done for the client a proper way, that we design it together, that we project it together. Obviously, that's the highest level recommendation because it's the most expensive thing to do and it's the highest type of service that this client can get in relation of getting a dress. But many teachers, what they do, they feel like, oh, that costs too much. She won't like it. She probably won't do it. Let me offer something different. So they go and offer maybe a pre-owned dress from someone else right away. And they think they're acting good, they're behaving good, they're being nice because they're offering something cheaper that the person can afford. But the reality is that every time you do this, you lower your level down. And what I saw happening a lot of times, that these teachers, that they think they're acting nice, they offer less, they stay more quiet, then the teacher next door is going to offer the big thing. And to the eyes of your student, now the teacher next door that is offering the higher level thing, the more expensive thing, becomes more cool than your actual teacher. So the rule is very simple. Always give your best recommendation. Always give the highest level of recommendation. If you think your student cannot afford it, doesn't matter. You still have to offer the highest level thing. If your student you think that she will never do 10 competition a year, 10 Pro-Am competition a year, I make an example, you offer 10 competition a year. It's your duty as a teacher, responsibility towards your client to offer your best recommendation. Very, very important, okay? Then, obviously, you can also say something like, this is what I would do if I were you, and this is my best recommendation for you. Now, I understand that there might be some body limitation, some budget limitation, some time limitation, whatever it is. So I am willing to talk with you to understand maybe we can find a compromise. But nevertheless, as a teacher, you must offer the best recommendation always first. so that then your student sees you always as the guy that is not afraid to recommend the best thing, who is confident in saying, this is what I would do, this is what I think you should be doing. It's a matter of confidence, it's a matter of authority. So again, point number 3 we just discussed, always offer first your best recommendation. And then number 4, I call this the encouragement or the empowerment formula, is very, very important because it's a way to give compliment to the student while encourage her to do something more. I make an example. Here a little bit actually is the formula. First of all, you are going to observe something good that they are doing. You are going to observe a pattern good that they are doing. Second, you're going to explain why this matters and why this is important. Third, you're going to share the vision. What could this become, And fourth, you are going to do your recommendation of what to do next. So again, observe, explain, vision, recommendation. Let me give an example. So you can, maybe while your teacher is teaching one of the students, this teacher can say to the student, maybe this teacher will notice that she's being particularly imbalanced today. So the teacher will say something like, I noticed that you've been staying very consistent with your balance today. Good job. That's great. And the student will say, oh yeah, thank you so much. And the teacher will say, this tells me, the fact that you're so consistent, it tells me that your body is now finally getting a muscle memory. It means that your consistency is paying off. So now after a compliment that you observed, you now go and basically explain why this matter. It's happening. It's important because you have been consistent, and now because to your consistency, you are able to do this. That's amazing. I'm so happy. Then you go and pass to the vision, and the teacher will say to a student, imagine what we could do if we applied this, what we just did for the balance, into all the other skills that we might learn. Like maybe the student has an issue with the posture or something. Let's go and do the same thing that we just did for balance, also for something else. So you're showing a vision, and you say, imagine how cool we would do if we keep doing this for longer time or more consistently. It's going to create a great outcome for you. If in 2 weeks we got you nice with balance, imagine what we can do in 3 months. And then you would switch to recommendation. You would say something like, 3 months from now, there is an event or there is a showcase that is in here at the studio or something. Why don't we work consistently towards whatever skill she needs to improve? And then we go and show and prove our worth and see the results of what we created at the event. How would that sound? And so you have created through this journey a conversation that has a very natural flow, starting with a compliment and journey towards your recommendation. Doing this from time to time helps tremendously keep the student committed and organized. Now, I wish I could tell you that you can just apply this formula and it will be all good. Those formulas have to be understood on a deeper level. Your teacher cannot be so scripted about this. It is a way of thinking. And if you feel that your studio might really need this type of training, might really need this kind of mental shift, then what I recommend, I think that me and you, studio owner and myself, we should have a private meeting. There is a link here down in the description where you can book your free Dancepreneur breakthrough call, totally for free, no commitment, no strings attached. We are going to talk about your situation, understand if this concept even will work for you. And if it works, and if you think this is nice, we can discuss how I could help you to get your team to implement those techniques so that finally you can take the hands a little bit out and you can focus on the things you are good at. You can focus on being the boss of the studio instead of focusing on babysitting your teachers and make sure that they do well with the students. And that takes out time from what you are supposed to do for yourself. Does that make sense? I hope that helps. Book your Dancepreneur breakthrough call and let's talk about your studio situation. Now, I want to give you just a little bonus thing. You know, when we spoke about the care formula and we said that you have to define the current situation and you need to define the desired outcome, and then you offer your solution in between. Now, if you understand this simple concept, now you can apply this into sales, and you can teach your teachers, your employees, to use the same technique. Why I'm saying this? Because again, sales feels awkward to a lot of dancers. And the reason why it feels awkward is because when they sell, they change the way they speak. They change the logic of their communication. When you are selling, or when you are teaching, or when you are just chit-chatting, you should be having always the same method of communication, the same way of speaking. If you keep the same way of speaking or the same logic of speaking, then sales doesn't feel more awkward than teaching or than chit-chatting. So even if you're selling something, let's say that the teacher has to sell the next package of lessons, okay? If he gets all like, oh, do you want to get the 10 lessons, 10 more lessons? Then it's awkward. The student doesn't like it. It doesn't make sense. But if your teacher understands the concept of current state, desired outcome, and then position your solution in between, the teacher can find some problems that the student is having, and he can have a quick conversation, few questions about this current state. So you're feeling off balance. Why you feel? Well, how does it make you feel to feel off balance? I'm not confident, or how this and that, right? So questions that define that issue. And then the teacher will go into questions that define the desired outcome. So you would like instead to feel very balanced, that you don't shake on your ankles, so that you can walk with confidence. So is that how you want to feel? Yeah, that's how I want to feel. Cool. Okay, so why don't we do? I feel that if we practice this way for another 10 lessons, we would get there. I'm pretty sure about it. You ready to do this? So now you have just simply had a conversation. There is a pain, there is an outcome. You suggest your solution in between. Your solution can be your teaching in some case while you're teaching. Your solution can be whatever you're selling, the product or the service that you're selling. And now you use the same logic through sales conversation, teaching conversation, chit chat, or whatever. It's the same. Now it's not awkward anymore. Okay. And you're actually serving someone, because if they don't want to do something, they won't do it. So here, we are not here about manipulating people. We are here about making people understand they need something. And if you just tell them they need something, they don't get it. It's just normal. It's just the way human behavior works. It's not about being stupid. It's just the way it works. So you need to be able to actually make this person feel the pain, make this person feel the outcome. Now you can place whatever you're offering. I hope that served you. If you liked what we're speaking about, again, I want to renew your invitation to come and speak with me directly. My mission is to help dancers to thrive, to become great entrepreneurs, to serve our students the best way. That's my mission. And I want to help you to do the same. As a studio owner, I need to help you. I want to help you so that your team of teachers will actually work well for you. So if this is something that sounds exciting for you and sounds like something that you would like to look into it, get your free Dancepreneur Breakthrough Call. There is a link below. You can book it. It's for free. It's going to be 45 minutes, more or less, me and you speaking. We're going to figure it out what we can do. If we find something interesting to do together, we'll work together. If we don't, I'll still make sure you get out of that call with a lot of good information that you can apply yourself. How does that sound? I hope that helps you, and I'll see you on the other side. Book your call.